The First World War, a conflict of unprecedented scale and ferocity, erupted in the summer of 1914. It was a war that would change the face of the world forever, leaving an indelible mark on history. It engulfed Europe and spread its tentacles across the globe, drawing in nations from every inhabited continent. The war's reach was vast, affecting not just the soldiers on the front lines, but also civilians in towns and cities far from the battlefields. What began as a localized dispute in the Balkans swiftly escalated into a global conflagration, fueled by a complex web of alliances, imperial ambitions, and nationalist fervor. The intricate political landscape of Europe at the time was a tinderbox, waiting for a spark to ignite it. The world watched in horror as millions of soldiers marched off to a war that promised glory but delivered unimaginable carnage. The reality of trench warfare with its mud, blood, and barbed wire was far removed from the romanticized visions of battle. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, ignited the powder keg of European tensions. This single event set off a chain reaction that would lead to a full-scale war. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, issued an ultimatum to Serbia, seen as harboring the assassins. The demands were harsh and designed to be unacceptable, pushing the region closer to conflict. Serbia's partial acceptance was deemed insufficient, and Austria-Hungary declared war on July 28, 1914. This declaration set the stage for a broader conflict as alliances began to activate. The intricate network of alliances then came into play, dragging nation after nation into the abyss. Countries were bound by treaties and agreements that compelled them to support their allies, leading to a domino effect of war declarations. Germany, bound by its treaty with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia and France, Russia's ally. The conflict was no longer confined to the Balkans, it had become a European war. Germany's invasion of neutral Belgium to outflank French defenses brought Great Britain into the conflict. The violation of Belgian neutrality was a key factor in Britain's decision to enter the war. The Ottoman Empire joined the Central Powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary, seeking to regain lost territories and assert its influence. While Japan, Italy, and eventually the United States joined the Allied side, alongside Britain, France, and Russia, each nation had its own reasons for joining the conflict, driven by a mix of strategic interests and political pressures. The world was at war, a conflict that would forever alter the course of history. The scale of the war was unprecedented, with battles fought on multiple fronts across continents. The ensuing 4 years would witness an unprecedented level of bloodshed, reshaping the political map, shattering empires, and leaving an enduring legacy of trauma and transformation on the world stage. The war to end all wars, as it was optimistically called, set the stage for even greater conflicts in the future. The First World War shattered the old order, dismantling centuries-old empires and altering the course of history forever. It redrew the map of Europe and the Middle East, creating new borders and nations. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, a patchwork of ethnicities held together by the Habsburg dynasty, crumbled under the weight of internal divisions and military defeats. The diverse ethnic groups within the empire sought self-determination, leading to its ultimate disintegration. The Ottoman Empire, once a formidable power stretching across Southeast Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, met its demise after centuries of decline. The war accelerated its collapse, leading to the partitioning of its territories. The Russian Empire, already teetering on the brink of revolution, collapsed in 1917. The pressures of war exacerbated the existing social and political unrest. The Tsar was overthrown, and the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power, establishing the world's first communist state. This marked the beginning of a new era in Russian history. The war had exposed the weaknesses of the Romanov dynasty and fueled popular discontent, paving the way for a radical transformation of Russia. The Bolshevik Revolution would have profound implications for the future of global politics. The war's end saw the birth of new nations on the ruins of the old empires. These newly formed states sought to establish their own identities and governance structures. Poland, erased from the map for over a century, re-emerged as an independent state. Its re-establishment was a significant moment in European history. Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia were formed from the remnants of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, bringing together diverse ethnic groups under new national identities. Meanwhile, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania gained independence from the crumbling Russian Empire. These nations embarked on their own paths to sovereignty. The war, however, failed to resolve the underlying tensions that had led to its outbreak. The unresolved issues would continue to simmer beneath the surface. The Treaty of Versailles, while officially ending the war, imposed harsh reparations on Germany, sowing the seeds of resentment and contributing to the rise of extremism in the years to come. The economic hardships and national humiliation felt by Germany would have lasting consequences. The world that emerged from the ashes of the First World War was vastly different from the one that had existed before. The geopolitical landscape had been irrevocably altered. Empires had fallen, new nations had risen, and the balance of power had shifted dramatically. The legacy of the war would shape international relations for decades to come. The First World War brought about profound social changes, challenging traditional gender roles, transforming family structures, and leaving an enduring mark on civilian life. The war was not just fought on the battlefields but also on the home front, where the fabric of society was being rewoven. With millions of men mobilized for the front lines, women stepped into the vacated roles in factories, farms, and offices. They became the backbone of the wartime economy, ensuring that production did not falter. They took on jobs previously considered exclusively for men, operating machinery, manufacturing munitions, and keeping essential services running. This shift was not just a temporary measure, but a significant step towards redefining gender roles in society. The war effort created unprecedented opportunities for women, challenging societal norms and paving the way for greater gender equality in the decades to come. Women proved their capability and resilience, forever altering perceptions of what they could achieve. The image of women in overalls operating heavy machinery became a powerful symbol of their wartime contributions and their changing role in society. These images were not just snapshots of a moment in time but emblems of a broader social transformation. However, the war's end also saw many women pushed back into traditional roles as returning soldiers reclaimed their pre-war jobs. Despite this, the seeds of change had been sown, and the impact of their wartime contributions could not be entirely erased. The war's impact on family life was profound. Families were not just separated by distance but also by the emotional and psychological toll of the conflict. Millions of families were torn apart by mobilization, with fathers, sons, and brothers dispatched to distant battlefields. The absence of these men left a void that was felt deeply by those left behind. The constant fear of receiving a telegram bearing news of a loved one's death cast a long shadow over civilian life. Each knock on the door could bring devastating news, making everyday life fraught with anxiety. The war orphans, widowed women, and families shattered by loss became poignant reminders of the conflict's devastating human toll. These personal tragedies highlighted the broader societal impact of the war. The war also had a profound psychological impact on civilians. The home front was not a safe haven, but a place of constant threat and uncertainty. The constant threat of air raids, food shortages, and the ever-present specter of death took a heavy toll on morale. Civilians had to endure not just physical hardships but also the mental strain of living in a war-torn world. The trauma of war extended far beyond the trenches, leaving an indelible mark on the collective psyche of a generation. The scars of war were not just physical, but also deeply emotional, affecting countless lives long after the conflict had ended. Section 4: Economic Fallout, From Devastation to New Power Dynamics. The First World War unleashed unprecedented economic devastation, particularly in Europe, where much of the fighting took place. Years of relentless warfare had decimated industries, ravaged farmlands, and disrupted trade networks. The economies of the warring nations were saddled with massive debts, incurred to finance the war effort. Germany, burdened with crippling war reparations imposed by the Treaty of Versailles, faced economic collapse and hyperinflation in the 1920s. The war's end also saw the decline of Europe's economic dominance. The United States, relatively untouched by the war's physical destruction and strengthened by its wartime industrial output, emerged as a global economic powerhouse. The war had disrupted traditional trade patterns and accelerated the shift in economic power from Europe to the United States. The US dollar replaced the British pound as the leading international reserve currency, reflecting the United States' newfound economic dominance. The war's economic consequences had a profound impact on the global balance of power, setting the stage for the economic and geopolitical shifts that would shape the 20th century. The war also had a significant impact on labor relations. The wartime demand for industrial output led to a surge in union membership and labor activism. Workers, empowered by their contributions to the war effort, demanded better wages, working conditions, and social protections. Section 5. Technological leaps, innovation in the crucible of war. The First World War witnessed an unprecedented acceleration of technological innovation, as nations sought to gain an edge in the brutal stalemate of trench warfare. The insatiable demand for more effective weapons and tactics drove rapid advancements in military technology. The machine gun, already in existence before the war, became a defining weapon of the conflict, its devastating firepower transforming the battlefield. The tank, a lumbering behemoth designed to break the deadlock of trench warfare, made its debut on the battlefields of the First World War. While its initial impact was limited, the tank's potential as a game-changer was evident, foreshadowing its decisive role in future conflicts. Air power, in its infancy at the war's outbreak, underwent rapid development. Aircraft, initially used for reconnaissance, were soon adapted for bombing raids and aerial combat. The war saw the emergence of iconic fighter planes such as the British Sopwith Camel and the German Fokker-Doktor Fürst, piloted by legendary aces like Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron. Advances in communication technology also played a crucial role in the war. The telephone and telegraph became indispensable tools for coordinating military operations, while wireless radio communication revolutionized battlefield communication, enabling real-time coordination between commanders and troops on the front lines. The war's technological innovations, while driven by the necessities of conflict, had far-reaching consequences, shaping the course of future wars and leaving an enduring legacy on the 20th century.